Micah 7 is talking about. It's this system. Babylon is a woman. And notice the 11 was in 3 different areas. And notice the building of the Tower of Babel was destroyed because of the 3 divisions. I think there's something to it. Now, I never understood Zechariah 5. We're going to go to Zechariah 5:5 as I rapidly move on here. But I think I understand it now. As we go to Zechariah 5:5, let me tell you that if we had time, we could go and read about the fall of ancient Babylon. Now, in Revelation, Babylon is represented as the woman. But in ancient Babylon, that ancient Babylon was in the land of Shinar. But just prior to its fall, God said, he saw the handwriting on the wall, he said, you have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. God is an accountant, and he could see that the scales were wanting. The scales in those days were like calculators for our day, and they had been stealing. Now, I want to tie this together by going to Zechariah chapter 5. We'll read rapidly because time's running out on me. It says, Then the angel who was speaking with me went out and said to me, Lift up now your eyes and see what this is going forth. And I said, What is it? And he said, This is the ephah going forth. The ephah going forth. Again, he said, This is their appearance in all the land. And behold, the lead cover was lifted up, and this is a woman sitting inside the ephah. And he said, This is wickedness. And he threw her down into the middle of the ephah and cast a lead weight on its opening. Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and there were 2 women coming out with the wind in their wings, and they had wings like the wings of a stork, and they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heavens. And I said to the angel who was speaking with me, Where are they taking the ephah? And they said to me, To build a temple for her in the land of Shinar, and when it is prepared, she will be set there on her own pedestal. What does all this mean? You can see why I got to move fast here. The ephah was a unit of measurement. It was a unit of measurement. Shinar was the land where the Tower of Babel was built, according to Genesis 11:2. Shinar was the land where the forbidden spoils of war were taken by Achan from the city of Jericho. It came from the land of Shinar. The holy vessels had been taken to the temple to the king of Babylon. Babylon drank from them and praised, the Babylonian king praised his gods in the temple of the Babylonian gods, and that was according to Daniel 11:1, I think it was, I don't know, but it was in the land of Shinar. You might say that the land of Shinar was a depository for the spoils of war. That is why we are over in that exact land today in this Iraqi war. Now, the Tower of Babel was built with oil. It was an oil product. And they were building it, and it's interesting, the land of Shinar, according to the Farrar Fenton translation, is called the bushland. Very interesting, the bushland. Well, this ephah was a unit of measurement of wheat, actually, I think it was. And this unit of measurement had this wicked woman in it, and they took her to the land of Shinar. Now, the reason I played that another untold story is gas prices have never raised. You can buy 4 gallons of gasoline anywhere in America today, just like you could 50 years ago, for $1. You take 1 silver dollar, and the price of that silver dollar will buy you 4 gallons of gasoline. 50 years ago, I could buy 4 gallons of gasoline for $1, or silver certificate. Gas has not gone up in price. It's just that the value of the dollar has gone down in price. That's all. And you've been deceived. Now, if some preacher in LaPorte, Colorado can figure that out, you don't think Obama or Hillary or McCain or any of those boys up there on Capitol Hill could figure that out? There's no gas shortage. They're building a new gas station right out there in Laramie. They got plenty of gas to sell. It's just the fact that the dollar has been devalued. When God said to Babylon of old, he said, you've been weighed in the balance and found wanting, they had been stealing. And they've been stealing your money by devaluing it and enslaving you with more and more debt. And consequently, that woman, and we have woman worship today. I'll get back on the Jezebel series, was called wickedness, and I think it was Babylon. And that woman that had the 3 measures of leaven was Babylon or Jezebel, and being thrown out in the streets. To me, it's all coming together. Is it to you? Is this making sense to you? We're getting into the meat of the word here. Why is God going to bring punishment? Go over to Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 13. This is important to understand. Let's go to Jeremiah 9, verse 12. Let's do that first. We read, who is the wise man that may understand this? And who is he to whom the mouth of the Lord has spoken, that he may declare it? Why is the land ruined, laid waste like a desert, so that no one passes through? Just stop there a second. Why? We look around. Why has all this happened? And that was the question. Now, you think you're going to get the answer from the churches today? No, because they're the ones responsible. Read the next verse. The next verse says this, and the Lord said, because they have forsaken my law, which I set before them, and have not obeyed my voice, nor walked according to it. End the quote. And so there is a law of God that the churches in our land have said is done away with. And as a result, we have what we have in our land. Now, wrapping this thing down, because I don't have a lot of time left, and bringing it into September. September 18th, 2001, the world leaders got together and declared war on terrorism. 7 years later is September of 2008. We're coming into September. September is the month that was September was the civil calendar. It was the beginning of the fiscal year for Israel. There's the beginning of the solar year, the month of Abib, and then the fiscal year began in September. In September, you had the Feast of Tabernacles. What's been done will be done again. Jesus Christ came, from what I can see, during the time of the Feast of Tabernacles. He tabernacled among us. He was conceived December 25th, but his perfect gestation period came into September during the Feast of Tabernacles. And in the Feast of Tabernacles, you had the day, in that month, you had what was called the Day of Atonement, where they blew the trumpet. And when the trumpet blew, then there was also, well, let's see, I wrote it down here. Let's go over to, I think I got time to read it. Let's go over to Leviticus chapter 23, and we'll read verse 24 through 27. Before you bring it on the screen, though, let me say that there is a law. You can thank every church in this land for your economic enslavement. Had we been following the law of God, there is in the law of God every 7 years a year of release. All debts are canceled. Had we been following the law of God, usury would never be allowed, no interest. Make a whole different world. Now, when there were 7 years and the debts were canceled, it kept people from being economic slaves. And it kept the land from being owned by the bankers. You think there's not a reason that these churches have never told you about the law of God? Never have. But every 7 years, 7 times 7 was 49, on the next year, the 50th year, was called the Year of Jubilee.